This video is sponsored by Wix. Go to wix.com/go/simplehistory to create a website now. Why were redcoats red? Everyone knows that the British Army wore red uniforms for a long time in its history. But do you know why red was the color of choice? The red tunic conjures up images of colonial militia easily picking off British redcoat targets during the American Revolution. To the modern eye, red seems to be a very bad color of choice for the battlefield, even if it conveyed imperial power. But in the days of muskets, being easily seen may have been the intended effect. A bright color such as scarlet red would have stood out amongst the clouds of smoke from the musket fire, making it easier to tell friend from foe. Furthermore, it has been suggested, as soldiers formed close together for musket volley fire, due to the inaccuracy of such weapons, the red uniforms of the British troops would merge from a distance, making it difficult for enemy commanders to identify their strength. It has also been suggested that red was chosen as the tunic color of the British Army because it hid the bloodstains of those who were wounded, and therefore acted as a way of maintaining morale. However, this has been proven as a myth by historians, with no evidence to suggest this theory. The most likely reason for the color choice was because red dye was cheap and red pigment was readily available and required less work in the dyeing process. In 1645, during the English Civil War, the parliamentarians formed the New Model Army against the Royalists. This new army was unique in that it was formed on the national basis raised by impressment and by regular taxation rather than by the privately organized militia of landowners. Officers were also chosen on skill and merit rather than social standing. To convey the unity and the professionalism of all its soldiers under one command, everyone was given the same red uniform regardless of the regiment. The Venetian red dye had been chosen because it was the cheapest on the market. This was different from the usual practice where regiments supplied themselves with their own uniforms and colors. After the English Civil War and the restoration of the monarchy, the British Army continued to wear red, for the same reason of cost, and also because it grew to be a tradition. While having such a bright uniform for centuries, the British were one of the first to adapt and change the color of their uniforms into a more drab camouflage color, as the rifle replaced the musket. The British Army introduced a khaki uniform in India in 1848. Khaki, which is a drab light brown color, comes from the Hindi word for earth-colored or dusty, a color much better suited to the evolving battlefield. The last time that red uniforms would be used on the battlefield was at the Battle of Guinness in the Sudan in 1885. From then on, red was limited to parade dress. Red was a color which really made British soldiers stand out on parade, and you can stand out with Wix. As you saw, Britain had many choices of color to choose for their uniform, and Wix has over 500 templates that you can choose from to make the right choice for your site. So go to wix.com/go/simplehistory to get started. Wix has great features such as Wix Videos, Wix Pro Gallery, and Wix Bookings. Perhaps this video inspired you to make a website on historical costumes or sell fashion via Wix's e-commerce templates. Go to wix.com/go/simplehistory or click the link in the description below to get started.